Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, we've got LSU against Florida State in Orlando. Game of the weekend for week one. It's on Sunday. But before we break down that game, a couple of quick reminders. The first is to join our ESPN Pick'em League. We've got a link to that in the description below. And more importantly, we also have a link to our Patreon down there. So we would really appreciate your support. That's the best way for anyone that wants to support our content. For $5 a month, you get access to our Discord server where we're talking college football and other nonsense all year long, definitely all season long. You get access to bonus episodes. We've got a bunch of evergreen content in there, probably 15 or 20 episodes that dating back a few years that you can still go back and listen to. And this year you get access to our podcast episodes in video form. So for week one, you'll see on our channel, we released the full, 40-minute, however long it was, week one episode. But starting in week two, that's going to be behind the Patreon wall. So we, again, appreciate your support there. Did I miss anything that they get in the Patreon?
No, I can't think of anything.
Just the good feeling of supporting the bros.
That's right.
That's what I missed.
True.
All right. Well, let's get into this game. So which player, which position group matchup are you most looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking forward to watching one guy in particular. I'm taking Harold Perkins, linebacker guy from LSU. 72
the linebacker
tackle
guy.
The linebacker guy. He's a guy. Classic position, the linebacker guy. Guy that tackles the football player, 72 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks for him as a freshman last year. Those were better numbers than Will Anderson's freshman at Alabama. Now, the question is, can Perkins make a jump like Will Anderson did? Will Anderson made that huge jump. He had over 100 tackles and like 17.5 sacks that sophomore year. So I don't think Harold Perkins is going to get those numbers, but if he can get anywhere close to that, that's going to go a long way for LSU to making the playoff and maybe winning a national title. So Perkins can make that jump. Oof, LSU is going to be pretty darn good.
All right. I'm most looking forward to watching Florida State's kind of new and improved receiving core because you've got Johnny Wilson back, of course, the 6'7", 235 beast. He had 900 yards last year with 21 yards per catch. And then you've got some exciting transfers. Of course, Keon Coleman, late transfer coming in from Michigan State, 6'4", 210, had a breakout year last year in a not very good offense, but 800 yards, 7 touchdowns for the Spartans. You got Winston Wright back healthy. He was the transfer last year from West Virginia. He could be interesting. At tight end, Jaheim Bell from South Carolina. He's got NFL potential. So just a loaded group of pass catchers that I want to see against a secondary that, with some injuries and just a lot of new pieces for LSU at corner, there's a question mark there.
Yeah, and that kind of, both you guys, that kind of leads me to what I'm looking forward to. It's kind of that LSU defense. Ryan, Harold Perkins, like, he's just a freak. Like, that Arkansas game last year, that's always just like ingrained in my brain. He just totally broke out. Like, even if he doesn't pan out completely, I'm just always going to have that game in my mind, and I'm just set in stone that he's great. But yeah, back to my point, the overall LSU defense, because they also brought in Omar Spates at linebacker from Oregon State. He was a tackle machine. So those two guys should be fantastic anchoring that linebacker core. Mekhi Wingo is coming off an All-American year on the D-line.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't have Mason Smith in this game, so that kind of hurts. And Michael, to your point, the secondary, it's kind of full of some transfer talent, so they need to gel. But at least I think maybe on paper, it looks like maybe an upgrade over last year. We'll see. I mean, that's the part that's got to shake out against a really good, tough first test.
Yeah. Okay. Are you guys having buffering issues, or is it just me? I just want to make sure.
I think it's just you.
Okay, good. Well then, hopefully it's good for the viewer.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to our against the spread picks. I'll start us out here. So LSU is favored 2.5, and just a really hard game to pick. I said this in our full podcast episode, but it's just when I don't know who to pick, it's kind of feels like a toss up. I'm obviously just going to take the points. So I'm taking 2.5 with Florida State. Having Mason Smith being out on that LSU defensive line is of course one of the reasons that helps me lean towards Florida State. And then just what I brought up, there's the I know there's a lot of talent, and they brought in a corner from Southeast Louisiana though, but that he's looked good in practice. They brought in a corner from Syracuse who's very experienced, so it's not like they're helpless there. But going up against a pretty big physical,
Formidable.
deep
Yeah.
receiving core for Florida State. So, just the fact that Denver Harris transferring from A&M at corner, at least so far, doesn't seem to be working out. J.K. Johnson transferring from Ohio State, he's hurt. They're going to be, playing a true freshman in all likelihood, a decent amount of snaps at corner. So I'm just in wait and see mode with that part of it. So that's kind of the factor that gets me to Florida State.
Yep. And Matt, did we even mention, this game last year was just bonkers in New Orleans. So I'm taking LSU, that just maybe get a little bit of revenge. It is hard because all offseason I thought I would be liking the Noles in this game with all the returning production that you had brought up, Michael, the impressive transfers that they have. But I just seeing that LSU is still favored, almost a field goal in a semi-road game in Orlando. I'm taking the Tigers. They want that revenge. I think LSU is going to improve more than Florida State this year. I like Brian Kelly. Jayden Daniels, great year last year, kind of led the offense. Both obviously he did rushing and passing. He developed a great connection with Malik Neighbors, who could have another great season, over 1,000 receiving yards last year. And like I said earlier, I think LSU's defense will be improved enough that they can at least contain Jordan Travis and the Noles a little bit to get the win.
And you brought up last year's game. One thing, I guess, to your point, taking LSU is offensive line really struggled for LSU in that game.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like Jayden Daniels was just on his own,
Yes.
having to make some magic happen. That might not be the case this year, just with, that offensive line got better as the season went on. Last year was very young and inexperienced, and I think this year should be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that point. That was one of my main things. It's just I think LSU's since that game, I think LSU has improved more than Florida State has. LSU later in that year, of course they go on to beat Bama. They win the SEC West. Things start gelling a little bit better. They bring in some nice transfers this year. I like Brian Kelly. To me, if it's a coaching battle between Norvell and Kelly, I'm taking Kelly all day long. So that's another factor why I'm taking this. I think Kelly's just going to take LSU. That was his first year there, and they were really good. He got them improving
amazing.
fast, man. I just think he's going to keep improving them. So I envision them being better, than a lot better than they were last year in this first game. So yeah, I'm taking LSU -2.5 as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of similarities between these teams, and I guess one of them being they both brought in great transfer hauls, so it's going to be interesting to see how all of those players gel. And then of course the dual threat quarterbacks. I'm not even sure we've mentioned. Maybe Trey mentioned Jordan Travis's name, I believe. But yeah, it's just we'll see what happens. But there's going to be a lot of scrambling, I'm sure. And
they each got a really good pass rusher.
Yeah, exactly. So. Well, Jared Verse and Harold Perkins. I'm not sure if we had mentioned Verse yet, but either way, should be an awesome game. So thanks for checking out this episode of the College Football Bros. Let us know in the comments below who you're taking ATS. And once again, we would really appreciate your support on Patreon. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.